Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, everybody who is here and joining us. And thank you, Aurelius, for rearranging your schedule to be with us. I just want to say a few things up front, and that's in addition to our own individual challenges, there are two forces driving the direction of our lives, directly or indirectly right now. As human rights commissioners, at the top of our attention list is COVID-19 and racial tensions. I want to commend our commission first for not missing a beat through our shutdown and continuing to fulfill our obligations. I believe we have stayed in front of most of the important issues, and many times ahead of the game. We have already been working and to ease the racial tensions by doing some of the following. We have had the Confederate statue issue, which we were not only asked to confront, but we were asked to confront it on TV by our mayor. Thanks to our quick response and passionate interviews by Rabbi Z and Jamal, the statue was wrapped within 24 hours. We were also asked to review and learn about the IRP by our councilman liaison, Michael Bellucci, and we worked over the weekend and made our recommendations to City Council, to the IRP staff, and to Mayor's African American Roundtable. We have had reports of Asian hate remarks, and one person wanted to file an official complaint, but I told her to please to go back to her employer, say that she has been harassed and that she's contacted. I'm sorry. She had asked that went back to her employer and said that she'd had problems, but she contacted the Human Rights Commission and everything was resolved. So just saying our name got that done. We have done our best to do the observations and protests for the Black Lives Matter 757 in person and in attendance and live feed. And we have listened to, at least I know I've been paying very close attention to notes, what their requests are for the protesters. We've been asked by the Sheriff's Office and the PD to review their use of force policies, which we're going to do. We've attended many meetings with various groups of persons to gain insight. The fact that we have been asked by City Council and city officials what they recommend or suggest, it suggests to me that we are respected and trusted by our officials. They know that we make the difficult decisions and it may be unpopular. We vote with a collective conscience, and we have to be that voice that isn't always welcome. So since we jumped right into the urgent matters, we have not really yet had a chance to discuss current racial issues amongst ourselves. And that is the purpose of this meeting today, to have, and our goal is to have consensus about how we contribute as a commission, such as, is what we're doing enough? And if not, what else can we do? We need to be cognizant of why we are doing what we are doing. This will help us to be effective and channel our emotional responses into some actions and hopefully results. Discussing racial issues, as we all know, and tension amid the influence of media and our own personal journeys, it is not easy and sometimes painful. I'm proud to work with each of you, and I look forward to hearing what we have to share today. Thank you, Aurelius, and I think I'm fine for the agenda. I think you're going to start us, right?
Yes, I am. And so again, thank Sylvia said, thank all of you for taking your time for this discussion. And that's what we view this as. It's going to be a discussion. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see.
Let me give you, hold on, let me give you the, all right. You should be able to go ahead and share your screen now, Aurelius.
All right. And so you as a commission, what we're doing today, we're going to have a discussion. And it's a facilitated discussion. It's for you as appointed commissioners to talk about the racial tensions that the city is experiencing, the state is experiencing, the nation is experiencing, and around the world. Just some of the ground rules. Here it is, we're doing this virtually. COVID-19, as Sylvia mentioned, two big issues the commission, and again, the nation is facing, the world is facing COVID-19, and now all these racial tensions. And so because of that, we're holding this meeting virtually. It's going to be a few challenges when we have a meeting virtually. So one of the things that we're going to ask is that if you're not speaking, that your mic is muted. That you're muted if you're not speaking. And then we're going to try to have one speaker at a time. Dominique has helped me here, and so you can raise your virtual hand, and then we'll get you in the queue, and then we'll open our ears to what you have to say. So using your virtual hand. Is everyone okay with the virtual hand?
Now, we have two callers who are here audio only, so they can't utilize the virtual hand. So I think the best bet for them is to keep them unmuted. And
Okay.
at least, and if there's a break in comments from other commissioners, you can maybe Rabbi Zoberman and Jamal let us know that you would like to speak in between the people that I call on who have their virtual hand. So I think I'll just for example, Carla talks. When she's done, I'll ask Rabbi Zoberman or Jamal if they have a comment and go on from there. How's that sound for everyone? Sounds good. All righty.
All right, very good. Thank you. And so everyone is encouraged to participate. Don't want to have anyone dominating, and so I want to get everyone's view. And we have a couple of hours, and so we know you probably have a lot to say about these points. And so we're going to ask you to state your headline. That is, what the topic is, and then the supporting information as necessary. So again, within our 2 hours, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking notes. Unfortunately, if I were in front of you, we would have the whiteboards going and we'd be scribing for you, be able to see that. And Dominique is also going to be taking notes, and we're going to share our notes, and then we'll ensure that we put them together for you, and then they'll go out to the commission. And then one of the things, just a positive note, as you are listening to everyone's discussion, perhaps we're not going to agree on everything. And a nice little ground rule is to say, yes, I appreciate that point, and here's another, as opposed to yes, but. And so that leaves us a little more open-minded. So with our ground rules, hopefully everyone understands that. Sounds like someone's typing that we can hear, that we're picking up. So I don't know whose mic is open, but we hear that typing. Thank you. So the first thing we wanted to do is just discuss the boundaries in which the commission works within. And we know you're very familiar with this. This is the Virginia Beach Code that gives the direction as to your duties, your powers, and your function as the Human Rights Commission here in the city of Virginia Beach. And it's 5 points, bullet points that the city of Virginia Beach, the council has given you. And so within our discussion today, I just felt it was good to kick us off to think about, what what your duties, powers, and functions are. So there, point number A, to institute, conduct, and engage in educational and informational programs for the promotion of mutual understanding and respect among citizens and the fulfillment of human rights. So within our discussion today, how does that, what can you do? The second point, to serve as a forum for the discussion of human rights issues and to conduct studies and propose solutions for the improvement of human relations in the city. The third, provide assistance to persons who believe their rights and that's being covered over. Their rights have been violated by identifying the appropriate federal, state, or local agency to address the complaint and referring such persons to that agency. And D, to provide City Council and the City Manager an annual written report of the Commission's activities on or before June 30th of each year, which is just passed, and then to adopt rules and procedures for the conduct of its affairs. And so there's some key bullets in there that surround around the discussion and lead the discussion this afternoon. And so there was a little agenda that was sent out, and I've tweaked that agenda a little bit based on Sylvia's opening comments. And so there was a set of points within that discussion or within your guidelines that we wanted to address. And so here, this first point that we would like to just have the discussion on, looking at what the commission's duties, powers, and functions are. Why should the commission, and here we change it, continue to engage? Because you have been doing a lot, as Sylvia mentioned. So why should the commission continue to engage? And so we're gonna open this up for discussion. And
1 moment before we start with that, I see a new person has joined us on audio only. Can you hear us, caller?
Yes, I can hear very well.
Is this Francis?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And you're just joining us on the audio, correct?
For now, I'll be getting in. I'm out on the road. I'll be getting on visual in a few.
Okay, great. And I don't know if you were here when I spoke on it. We have you, Rabbi Zilberman, and Jamal joining us through audio only. So since you guys won't have the capability to do the virtual hand, I'm just going to start off with asking each of you if you had any comments and then go to those who have their virtual hand up, okay?
All right, thank you.
Okay, so did you have any comment on why should the commission engage at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay, sounds great.
very good. So again, the thought being, why should the commission continue to engage in this discussion of racial tension? So thoughts from the commission on that?
Rabbi Zilberman, did you have any thoughts on that?
Well, obviously, when there are serious issues in the community, the Human Rights Commission is called upon to be engaged in whatever form we can make a difference.
Okay. All right.
Very good.
Thank you. Jamal, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Yes. I just wanted to say real briefly that I think it's kind of self-explanatory, as the rabbi just said. It's kind of our role to engage in these issues, particularly when it's coming to any sort of grievance that someone from the city has with the city. It's kind of on us to actually speak on those issues and to kind of represent the community and represent individuals that have that grievance. So it's kind of I don't want to say a no-brainer, but again, I think that's what we're here for. I mean, that's what we do, correct? I mean, is that too much of an assumption?
No, that's a good assumption. And particularly, as you say, grievances, issues, what we're focusing on this afternoon are the racial tensions and why the commission, and as Sylvia mentioned at the onset, you've done a lot. And again, the why. So I'm hearing that, it's why you're there. You are put in place to engage when problems like this occur. Ginger, I see your virtual hand.
Ginger?
Yes, I agree with Jamal. Of course, it falls within our purview to be engaged in our issues relating to racial tensions. Like Jamal said, kind of a no-brainer. And what we, basically, if we're looking at the issue that their civil rights are not being upheld, that's right in our alley also. Again, it's a no-brainer to be involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. One moment, Jamal, did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, to add upon that, I just want to just be specific in regards to racial tension. There is a target in that racial tension. It isn't just widespread, like black people have a problem with white people. It's not that simple. It's that there is a particular grievance where people feel like they're not being heard, or they're being over policed and aggressively policed, and that the police need to be reformed and not be as aggressively targeting people, well, African American men and African American women. That is a real issue that we're dealing with, and that's kind of has been a precipice that everything that we've seen the protests launch from. Of course, I mean, there are other side issues like the Confederate Monument and whatnot, but even that is another issue where we're focused, where like racial tension is focused on the city itself, and the city is actually the culprit of actually wanting to either promote or honor a Confederate monument. But like I said, that's another issue. But it also adds to the racial tension in the city, and the racial tension in the city is focused on, again, reforming the police and the relationship that the African American community has with the police, and that is, I mean, it is the service represented by the city, and the community that we would be on working on behalf of is the African American community in the city. And I just, again, like I said, I just feel it's incumbent upon us to speak on their behalf because they don't always have that voice to speak to the city. I mean, the city can't ignore them. The city can brush them aside and not take them seriously, particularly when you got other, I mean, I know we'll probably get into this later, but other outside agitators who may not exactly be from the city. Like the mayor or chief secretary has absolutely no mandate to listen to Aubrey Jones. He lives in Newport News. But still, he is still highlighting a number of issues that people have in Virginia Beach. So who is speaking for those people? If it can't be him, it has to be us.
Very good. Thank you, Jamal. So I heard you say, you speaking clearly, as you said, you feel the commission needs to speak for those people that are not being heard. And you mentioned some things that I jotted down about the police department, targeting, who they are targeting. You also mentioned the Confederate Monument and even some police reform. So those are some things that if I was on the board, I would have jotted down. The key thing that the commission should speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. That cover that?
Are not able to, or who are not able to, or don't have the voice inside the city. I mean, we have to be that representative voice. I mean, I guess a way to put it is like we are the city's, the citizens' defense attorney, for lack of a better term. We have to come to their defense, and the plaintiff is the city. So I mean, I guess that's one way of putting it. I just think it's incumbent upon us.
Thank you. Very good. I see Joe, your virtual hand.
Yes, I agree with all that. And in addition, I believe that the HRC can also serve as I'm looking for a term, but almost like a connection point. There are so many groups coming at this topic in so many different ways. And it's not always easy for them to speak to one another or have the forum to speak to one another. And I think the Human Rights Commission could create that opportunity for these groups to come together and to kind of serve in your role, Aurelius, as the kind of the moderator, as the independent voice that allows people to speak to one another civilly and in a way to look for solutions rather than just point fingers. And we are, unfortunately, I think, a society right now that does a whole lot of finger pointing and a whole lot less solution finding. The other role I think we play, and I think of Dr. Parrott here, and that is as an arm of the educational organization, the city, where we can support her as she works in schools and with staff to help build an atmosphere where racism is not tolerated. It is too big a role for her to take on by herself, but with our help, with our connections, I think that we can add onto that and become her army to support her.
Very good. Thank you, Joe. And you're even getting us moving us forward into some of the things you can do, the what you can do. Thank you. Teresa, I see your virtual hand. I think you still can't hear you. Are you muted there, Teresa? We can't hear you.
I was thinking that Dominique was doing it. We unmute ourselves in the conversation, okay. Right? Okay. Yes, I just wanted to add the idea that as we look to our duties of 1 and 2, educate and inform, whenever we identify human rights abuses, or concerns, it would be our job to be influencers. And so for 1 and number 2, which is also conducting forums and other ways to assist the city with furthering, coming to remedy. But I don't think we should ever speak for anyone. I would like to think that we more help clarify, use our influence to further human rights. But I think that the people that are most effective are very effective at lifting what these concerns are. And so should we stay engaged? Absolutely, because it's a big concern. And as long as it's in the lane of human rights, then it's in our purview.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Teresa. Sylvia, see your hand?
Sylvia?
Need to there you go.
Okay. I hit it 3 times. That's my magic number. Yeah, I just wanted to say, Dominique, I know you're conducting it, but anything that you have to say, and also I see our police officers down there, anybody that needs to say something, please feel free to join us.
Okay, I know that Dr. Parrott is on the line and would like to speak. Dr. Parrott? Dr. Parrott, are you?
I'm listening. I'm here still.
Okay. All right. Did you have any comment to add to the discussion?
Well, just confirming and affirming, I should say, what Mr. Burnsworth shared about having connectors or building bridges, and that's what I see my role as a liaison on this commission is to bridge that gap and fill in that gap between what happens in our school division that impacts everyone in our city. And so I believe it's important that this work is larger than a commission, is larger than one director, and it takes all of us doing our part and using our sphere of influence to make a difference. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now as I'm listening.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Parrott.
Thank you. So again, our focus on right now is on why the commission should continue to engage. Any other thoughts on that as to why the commission should continue to engage? You had some nice points in there that were made.
Ginger, I see your virtual hand is up.
Yes, but I'm already on the next topic, as the last 2 speakers have said.
Oh,
okay, very good.
let me check and see if any of our audio participants have anything more to add to that.
Dominic?
Rabbi Zoberman, did you have more to add?
Yeah, I see. I think that generally speaking, I see ourselves as a conscience of the community. No matter what issues come up, and there's hardly an issue without the human rights dimension attached to it. And of course, we have to prioritize in terms of the importance of the issues that come before us. We cannot do practically everything we would like to do, maybe. But generally speaking, if we regard ourselves as the conscience of the community, I think that alerts us to the moral dimension of our work and to the fact that we have the ethical clout. When we come up with a decision, the city and the community listen to us, and that is a strong, strong asset that we have.
Thank you, Rabbi Zoberman. Jamal, did you have more to add to this? Jamal,
Me?
Yes.
Yes. Also just back up what Joe has said earlier as well. I believe he was going to say clearinghouse, and I believe that is a good way of kind of looking at it too. We do have the ability to connect certain individuals and certain groups that probably would not be able to touch base with each other or be in contact with each other. If we can use that ability, I think we should.
Okay. Thank you, Jamal.
Thank you. Very good.
Francis, did you have more to add or anything to add?
Thank you. Thanks, Dominique. I was not in a place where I could speak at that time when you called. But yes, I would just like to say that as a Human Rights Commission, and when it comes to racial tension and law enforcement and all of that, I'm certain that we do have our part to play, and I think that it's important that we stay engaged. It's not like racial tension is just now emerging in our city. We've had issues, in my career, certainly linked with education, we've seen disparities and issues that we've needed to address. I just think that the issue with the murder of George Floyd just brought things to a boil and a little bit of a boil over. And I say my same speech at every meeting that I go to, and that is that people want to be heard. And I think when we are the ear and the listening ear for the community, we're doing good work. Not that we have solutions, not that we are pointing fingers, not that we have all the answers or with making or taking blame or any of that, but just if the Human Rights Commission could be a listening ear, I think we've gone a long way in fulfilling our mission as a Human Rights Commission. So that's what I had to put in. Now, I'm at home, so I'm going to run in and get on the computer.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you, Francis.
Thank you.
Very nice. Excellent. I think we've covered that first point well, unless there's any other thoughts. And there was some interesting dialogue there. I heard from the one commissioner that we speak for the community, one saying we need to be careful as we speak for the community. And then there was a nice point there by Francis. We listen to the community. Sometimes people feel like there's no one to listen, and sometimes that's a huge thing. Just to be able to listen to, to be listened to, and then given direction on where they could go. Very nice. Let's move to that second bullet point. See why you're so important. So what more can the commission do? And some things were mentioned as Ginger mentioned, but let's have it. What more do you feel the commission can do? You've done a lot so far, and especially since as Francis mentioned, that tipping point with what happened in Minneapolis. Ginger, your hands up for this one?
Yes, I'd like to respond to a couple of folks because there's so many great points, as you said, Aurelius. First, I wanted to respond to Lakesh, and Lakesh, the importance of building that bridge. You've got a huge responsibility in your job. And when you look at the partnerships that we have with other city agencies, like the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, the way that we have been partnering and working with them is that they bring things to us, we bring things to them. And I just want you to know that we can do the same with the school system. Know that you can bring some of your heavy burden to us, and we can help with all of our backgrounds and thoughts. And we can do a partnership like that. And if she wants to respond, and then I'll go to my next point.
Dr. Parrott, did you want to respond to that?
Yes, and I totally agree, and I appreciate that invitation, because I have some topics and some guidance that I'll need from the Human Rights Commission as we examine as a school division and what's going on in our city and throughout the nation. Some important topics like Confederate symbols and symbols of hate and school names and mascots and all these things that now have always probably been questions for members of our community, but now they want action. And so I will definitely bring to you all some recommendations once I gather more information from our school community. So thank you.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then I want to follow up on something that Teresa said, and also Aurelius, you picked up on this. Teresa said that we should not speak for a specific group, and I agree with that. What we do is we take the side of the issue and not the group, because something that I've seen, I see brewing is that groups will and have been trying to use us to their ends, and it's a caution that that I'd like to share, that we go in with eyes wide open and know that we take the side of issues, but not of specific groups. And I hope I didn't misinterpret you, Teresa. I think we were saying the same thing. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Teresa, I see your virtual hand.
Yes, thank you, Ginger. That is what I meant, but I was also speaking about solidarity with the issue. The issue being always for us rights, whether it's popular or unpopular, it is the issue that we are obligated to take a stand on. So, and I love what Francis said, but I also want to add that, yeah, we'll listen, but I just know as a commissioner, I'm constantly getting, pressure about taking a stand and making sure that once that listening has occurred, that we're using our influence. As Dr. Parrott said, I think we've been doing this already all over the place. We have seen that the community would like to move on human rights. We've always been willing to do our part, build the bridges to then move toward remedy. So we can't just stop with listening is my own concern. I think that means that we do not fulfill the full obligation of duty.
Thank you. Sylvia, see your hand. And we, okay, there you go. We hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to follow up on Dr. Parrott's. It's a little off subject in a little bit, but she mentioned mascots. Michael Cloud and myself, we went to the school boards maybe almost 10 years ago now, and made a presentation to them and asking them to change names. We have the Kingsville Chiefs and a couple of others. As a matter of fact, the Native American group that I belong to used to meet in Kingsville Junior High School, and there's this big chief, horse, and they're called the Kingsville Chiefs. We were told that because of the alumni that belong to those schools, that we couldn't have any of the Native American names changed in Virginia Beach. But their consolation was that we would, they would give us the word that they would not name any more new schools with Indian names, which didn't please us, but at least we got the point across. I wanted to say that. And there was something else, but I'll have to remember it later and look through my notes. Thanks.
Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, I'm going to go to our callers now. Jamal, did you have anything to add? Jamal, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
It's okay.
I don't have anything to add right now. But I mean, honestly, I don't want to even get off topic, but that might be another issue. You do consider racial tension is the naming of like a school like Kimsville. I mean, I'm not sure if that will come up again or if that's an issue now, but I mean, considering the Washington has dropped their football name, I mean, it's just something that, and also the Cleveland is also considering changing theirs. Is this something that we have to consider, or is this something that we will also have to speak about, or is there any noise? Not I mean, I'm going to say noise, but any discussion in community outside of what you just said, Sylvia?
Yeah. Your mic is still open. Yes.
Okay, thank you. In answer to you, Jamal, there's been nationwide movements about all of the mascots, and especially the Cleveland Indians is especially offensive. I think the cartooning would be not. But since our domain was Virginia Beach, I was first surprised that we had schools that had mascots with Indian names. And of course, I've still got the PowerPoint, so I'm ready to fire it up and get to somebody, because I think an alumni that went to Kimsville Junior High, if they've moved on in their lives, I don't know how much of an impact changing that name would be, but yes, that's always on our minds. And also, I'm sorry if anybody's got Italian roots here, but Columbus Day is something that we'd like to see change to Indigenous Day. Several cities have done that, but I don't know how we would go about doing that. It's on our radar. I would call racial tension. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sylvia. Jamal, did you have more to add?
Is this something we should be bringing up as a commission? I mean, regardless of not just Columbus Day, but also like naming of high schools. I mean, to be perfectly honest, Sylvia, you live in Virginia Beach. I mean, and we do convey concern to the community. You are the community. I'm not trying to be funny, but is this something that we should be taking action?
Well, personally, because it was Michael and myself that did this. I was not on the Human Rights Commission at the time, and I presented to the current Human Rights Commission what we felt should be done. And what I had done, what we had copied a couple of slides from other presentations from Native Americans, and my slide was one of the slides got the African American community that was on the Human Rights Commission at the time upset, because I used an example. If you replaced the Indian with an African American and said something about that, how would you feel? And one of the commissioners then gave me a hard time for disparaging African Americans, which my point was, you feel offended. Well, how do you think we feel? So I think it's not one of those things that's at the forefront, because we have a very diverse Native American. Virginia Indians are very diverse because of Walter Flecker, and that whole story. You were either black or you were white, and you were Indian. So now their communities are trying to get back together as Indians, but we are either white or black, except in my case, I'm not. Yes, I think it should be on our back burner. It certainly isn't something right now we need to address. But thank you for recognizing that.
If I may just, follow up on that, just to, the point Jamal was making about the naming of these schools. Sylvia, when did that take place? You said you approached, you went to some of the schools about this?
Not to the schools. We took our PowerPoint to first the Human Rights Commission, who pretty much dismissed us, and I was not on at the
All
time.
right. Okay, so got it.
And then we went to the school board, and the school board, we are on record saying that we would object to, we wanted to change the names. They said there's no way, but they did make the pledge that they would not name any other school sports mascots after Native Americans. That was
And when was this?
It was about 10 years ago. Michael, how long ago did we go to the school board? We're thinking.
Yeah. Well, so
maybe 15 years ago.
15, okay. And so that's, at this point, what more can the commission do with the racial tensions? I think Jamal is making a point. That's one of the things that, that's causing some of the tension. That's something that the commission should address. Any thoughts on that from the commission, that you should take that on?
Rabbi Zoberman, did you have any thoughts on that?
Well, we have to organize a list and prioritize. We cannot do everything we would like perhaps to do. So we have to come together and look at the various items that have come to us and decide on which ones we want to focus.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi Zoberman. Carla?
Unmute.
You're on. Oh, your mic is open now.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say I agree completely with Rabbi Zimmerman. I think we do have to prioritize. I think there's so much going on right now. And if someone brought that to us now as the current problem, I can absolutely see where we would fit in to listen and be that clearinghouse and be that conduit. But yeah, like I said, I was just agreeing with Rabbi Zimmerman that we have to prioritize. There are so many things going on between the racial tensions, between the law enforcement, between COVID, the schools, everything. I think we have a lot on our plate.
Okay, thank you, Carla. Joe, you got a statement? Your mic is now open.
Okay, and if I remember what I heard was that Dr. Parrott said that was something that was kind of in her wheelhouse and has come up to her, and that she may be seeking our assistance. And I think that is probably might be the way to address it, that we allow her to deal with it, and then when she wants our help, she can ask us for it, and we will be there for her.
Thank you. Dr. Parrott, your thoughts on that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Burnsworth. I was sitting here going, but it's my priority. And so as our school division, the community has contacted us as a school division, and so that's exactly right, Mr. Burnsworth. Once I meet with our Equity Council next month, our Equity Council will convene next month, and that's one of the 3 topics on our agenda is school mascots. And so, Chairwoman, I would love for you to pass along, or maybe we can chat soon and have a conversation about the work you've done in the past and the responses you had, so we can learn from those lessons. And because, again, I don't think this topic is going to go away. And, again, as I get more dialogue from our Equity Council, I will bring this forward to the Human Rights Commission to keep you updated and seek your guidance as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parrott. I'm glad to help anytime.
Okay, Joe, did you have more to say on that? Your hand? Oh, no? Okay. All right. Okay. Teresa, you have your hand up?
Yes, I just want to emphasize what Dr. Parrott just said, and I'm feeling so hopeful, because this is the dialogue that I was trying to have, really was doing, trying to figure out how to fit it in. We already have these partnerships with the city departments as well as the community. So when we talk about the pulse of the community, what we're hearing, or what, we've already been doing this. We've done it with the sheriff's department, with the mental health issues. We did it with, anti-bullying and, the LGBTQ issues that came up in school. Dr. Parrott has been very responsive as long as we have these kinds of partnerships, that's where we have the ethical clout and influence. And so we become actors of that power, but that's why those partnerships and liaison issues are so important. Because otherwise, people don't come to us, and so that whole piece of it is missing. We have all the city departments, but we don't have the community pulse and voice. So when those, intersect, and I do, again, Rabbi Zoberman saying we have the ethical clout, so we need to make sure that our influence is always in the lane of human rights. And no matter whether it's popular or not, that's our litmus test, that's our lens. And we become, an influencer of the North Star in that direction. So yes, I just want to sing our praises because this is how we've been operating. We just haven't been.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. And just take a moment for a housekeeping item real quick. If you have any other audio devices going on in the background, just make sure you mute those so we're not getting any interference or anything. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Okay, Ginger, you had a comment? Your mic is open.
Yes, thank you. And so as we are identifying things, in my mind, which is always linear and logical, almost always, I'm going through and listing what are the initiatives that we're involved in now, and maybe it's next steps with the initiatives that we have now. So I'll start us with a few, and if everybody wants to add in what else is going on, Sylvia and all too. So brand new, Sylvia has asked us to do a task force on racial tension. So that's a brand new thing. We don't have that all laid out. Another new task force is COVID-19. We've been moving forward with a few things on that. I see some unfinished business that we've talked about in the past. And one of the things that we've talked about deals with the sheriff's department and the jails, because we had been wanting to get an update on how they handle intake with persons with mental illness. And right now, after reading a headline today, about 25% of the inmates in Chesapeake jail have COVID. A question about what's going on in our jail with that. I think that's important for us to know as kind of I saw it as kind of an unfinished thing. And then I will yield to anyone else who wants to add to what we're currently working on.
Okay, thank you, Ginger. Okay, I'm going to check with our callers. Rabbi Zoberman, did you have anything to add?
Not at this time, no. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Jamal, did you have anything to add?
I do not.
Okay, thank you, Jamal. Okay, Francis, your mic is now open.
Okay. I think I'm with Ginger on this. I have a concern that we spent a pretty good amount of time developing a work plan. I would love to see us review the work plan to see what areas of work had we already decided we wanted to participate in and what we wanted to do or be our work, and then see how can we integrate the issues of the day with our work plan. I feel like we developed the work plan, we got to fine science, and I feel like, I may be wrong, that it just went on the shelf and we have our work plan for the year. So I would like to see us look back for our work plan, integrate the current issues that we have with what we already planned to do, and move forward and move ahead that way. Because let's say back in March, we were to have a forum on racial tension and race relations in the city of Virginia Beach. So, I mean, some of our work had already gotten started. So I would like for us to do that. I'll just leave it that way.
Thank you, Francis.
If I may, on this, there's a big smile on my face, Francis. I was with you on the commission as you put that plan together, and that plan was going to get you through the end of fiscal year, which ended on June 30th, and here we are July 1st. And so you're right on point, and Sylvia might have some thoughts on the next step was, okay, let's look at what we did to get to June 30th. Now, what's the new work plan going to be? And I think in August, or there was a point you're going to be looking at that, Sylvia?
Yeah, I haven't sent an email out to everyone, but so that everyone knows, I already knew we were behind, and I asked Aurelius to stand by that we would be sending out the work plan, and I know we've got some changes to it, but we really do need to get. And I don't want to take up another regular meeting because we're so far behind, but to do maybe a short Zoom review of our work plan. So I'll be sending the old one out with some new, we've got new, hi Louie, with some new things that we've done. And yeah, Francis, you're exactly right. We need to incorporate that, what we're doing and what we plan to do into our new work plan. Thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome. I want to take a moment to welcome Luis to the meeting. Hello.
Hey, Louis.
All right. So does anyone else have any comments on the, you know, what can the commission do? Anything else to add?
Very good.
Okay.
All right. So we have what you can do, and again, that discussion into the 2021 work plan. I heard some outstanding points that you need to list. The work plan is a great place to list that, and then to prioritize. So you'll be doing that for 2021. And so this is, you know, the timing is just right. Again, this discussion is all about, you know, racial tensions. What can we do about that? That's just one piece because it's such a high point right now. But that full discussion on everything that this commission is doing, all the good work, is going to be that discussion when we're discussing the work plan, listing and prioritizing. But the things that we're mentioning here, these are things that are candidates that would go in that work plan to determine if it's high enough priority to be worked on. All right. All right. Any thoughts, comments from those on the phone that we can't see?
Rabbi Zoberman?
No, no comment.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Jamal?
Not at the moment, I do not.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Parrott?
No comment at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, very nice.
Okay.
Very good. And so that just moves us then to something that Francis led a nice, you know, one of the key things, the next bullet point, how will the commission accomplish its intentions? How are you going to identify and prioritize?
Okay. Ginger, your mic is now open.
Thank you. Just as a quick reach out, we do have the police department online with us, and did they want to chime in with anything regarding the racial tensions task force and what kinds of things are going on there? And you just talk to us about that from their perspective.
Okay, Lieutenant Meister, your microphone is now open. Hello, can you hear us? Lieutenant Meister, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, did you have anything to add to the discussion?
Not right now.
Okay,
Thank you.
right. Thank you. Okay, Ginger, did you have anything more?
No.
Okay. Thank you. All right, did anyone else have anything to say about how the commission will accomplish its intentions? Sylvia?
I don't have exactly that, but I guess I need to bring it up. And Ginger touched on it, and I think Teresa did, about not what how did we say, endorsing individuals or groups, but issues. Did I hear that somewhere? Was that okay? I did, because we, you know, I had been asked to belong to this LLL group, which is a listen, learn, love. That I have no idea what they're doing. They want a few commissioners to listen in to what their plans are, but I really don't have any idea. And I think what they're really looking for is support. And then we have the overall umbrella of Black Lives Matter. And I know that I think it was someone said that, you know, our business leaders should support Black Lives Matter. And my concern is the umbrella has gotten so large. Is that something we want to do? And also, we, as we can see, we work closely with the sheriff's office and the police department. And I'm trying. I know this is delicate. How do we as human rights commissioners and as a commission, how do we support some of the movements? How do we still respect some of our police department? How do we other organizations? I'm open just to any kind of remarks and suggestions. And
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sylvia. Did any of our callers have any comments in that regard? Dr. Rabbi Zoberman?
Well, I think that these groups can knock on our door, and we have to engage in conversation once they are invited to join us for dialogue. We have to be very, very careful because some of these groups have more than one focus. And for example, the Black Lives movement, it has some dimensions to it that irritate other groups in the community. So we have to be in open dialogue, be very, very careful before we throw our support behind any of these groups.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi Zoberman. Jamal, did you have anything to add?
Well, I want to make it clear. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
I want to make it clear, first of all, that Black Lives Matter, comma, Black Lives Matter 757, comma, police reform, police brutality, comma, systemic racism. All of these are completely different issues. All of these can be addressed completely separate. I just want to make sure that's clear. Black Lives Matter 757 is not Black Lives Matter overall. They can be completely two different entities, and can be. I mean, it can be seen that way. Police reform is not always going to be associated with Black Lives Matter and vice versa. So I just wanted to make that clear. But I also wanted to just I'm with Sylvia, and I'm also right now I'm in a curiosity mode because once we knock on those doors and they answer the door, what's the next step?
Okay. Thank you, Jamal. And Joe, you had a comment to make?
Yeah, I want to address Sylvia's question about the listen, love, learn, the 3L group. One of the things that as we were working on the onboarding package and the process and procedures that we talked about was if there was a group that wanted us to send a representative to be a liaison or whatever we're going to call them, that we would ask them to put that in writing and detail what they wanted from us so that as a group, we could see that and talk about it, but it's their responsibility to clarify that, I believe, not our responsibility. And I think that if you went back and whoever you spoke to, and if you went back to them and said, please put in writing so that I can share it with the other members of the HRC, what exactly it is you want, then we will discuss what our role might be or if there's a role. But I just wanted to throw that reminder out that's what we talked about, and I think it's a great plan rather than just trying to guess about what they might want or you taking the responsibility to try to interpret, because when I think any of us do that and we put ourselves in a sticky situation, and Sylvia, I don't want to see you in a sticky situation.
If I may comment on that, Joe, so that's something in your onboarding package for new commissioners, that's outstanding. That is going to be nice, that will go through. Excellent.
All right, thank you, Joe. Okay, Teresa, you had a comment?
I just want to say, and I'm really appreciating, Joe, all the work behind the onboarding package, because that's something we've needed for a long time, and we have put it together at other times, and it just kind of flew apart. I want to commend us, though, for continuing to work in the work and really knowing that it is about relationships. I mean, relationships, not just relationships for the sake of reason, but right relationships focused on the lens of human rights. And so if any group invites us, whether it's need an official letter or whatever, that's where we come from. And then we go back through our structure to know who are we talking for, if we're given permission to talk, which we aren't usually. It's only the chair that's a spokeswoman. So I think we have been doing this very well, and we've been navigating some really tricky waters for an awful lot of years. I mean, and I think that we're growing in that ability, and so I think the better structure for new onboarding will be good, but we will not be popular all the time, but we just need to be sure that we're grounded in the role. So, Sylvia, you as chair, that's a big responsibility, because you've got to make sure that we follow that mantra. And sometimes it'll get away from us, and that'll just happen. But I think that if we know we can trust each other, and we also trust all those partnerships that have taken a long time to build with great respect, both in the city and otherwise. And just to give a little example, when we had our building bridges, we discovered the immigrant situation with children with enrollment. And then we thought we had it rectified, and it came back, and it was people in community that were kind of pushing back on me. Dr. Parrott was so responsive around, rather than being defensive, she was responsive. How can I help? How can I make sure that, these children, because they're human rights and even civil rights and against the law not to be in school, she made sure that we found a way for the task force to go back to the work plan, pick up what we had thought was completed, and re-engage in it again. So once again, I'm not trying to be too long-winded, but we're doing this all the time, to the point that we can stand up against, hard issues and still be seen as the North Star, even if, our own liaisons disagree with us or department heads disagree with us, and there's still a great deal of respect. So I just feel like we're already there. And Joe, I want to commend you for getting it written down. But I think we need to be gentle with the partners that haven't made those official requests, because we've been doing it for a long time, and they think they're in relationship with us.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa. Okay, Sylvia, did you have more to add?
A little bit, and also Dominique, do you have anything to add at this point?
I think the idea of request for partnerships is a good way to manage it, I guess you would say, because some groups may not want our help, and then the tricky situation with the intent of the group. So if they come to us with the request, then the commission reviews it as a whole body and then makes the decision if they want to create that partnership. I think that is the smartest approach, not only to protect ourselves, but to make sure that our actions are, there's intent behind our actions, and that we keep our focus on what's important. Okay.
And I wanted to, while Jamal, are you still there, Jamal?
Jamal, your mic is open, Jamal.
Oh, well, I wanted to ask him. We had a abbreviated joint meeting with the Oceanfront Enhancement Committee, which is the Regional Advisory Commission. The next one is open to everybody, but at the last one, we had asked Jamal if he would reach out to the 757 Black Lives Matter leadership. And Jamal, I don't know if you have done it, but I want to know your opinion about should we, and maybe the police can also.
Sylvia?
Hello?
Oh.
Who's talking?
Jamal, can you hear us? I think we may have lost Jamal. Jamal?
No, you have not. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I started some outreach to them. And like I was saying, I'm not sure if it was a hint or what, but like I said, Aubrey Jones, he does not live in Virginia. So the mayor and his chief of police have absolutely no mandate to listen to him whatsoever. But he is speaking for people in Virginia, and the issues he's speaking about are the same issues that people in Virginia are speaking about. And I also understand, and this is one thing we said during the meeting a couple of weeks ago, that there are certain individuals who have had trouble reaching out to him or coming or like getting him to the table to speak. He's been disruptive or otherwise uncooperative. In my interaction with him, Ginger was with me. He was not at all. He was fairly pleasant. He was fairly agreeable. I'm looking forward to speaking with him. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Black Lives Matter 757 does not represent Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a movement. Black Lives Matter 757 is a Facebook group. It is not even it's not even a chapter of the overall movement organization. So that said, Aubrey Jones is a figurehead, but a lot of people are listening. But that said, I mean, I'm not sure who made it point. I think it was Joe that made a point of actually soliciting from him or soliciting from them. Now, there are other individuals I am speaking with outside of Black Lives Matter 757 and Aubrey Jones, other individuals who have space protests in Virginia Beach, who literally live in Virginia Beach, who do have a voice and have been meeting several people in the city. So I'm also speaking with them. And those are the individuals I want to hear from. And it does make sense for them, and I appreciate it. So it does make sense for us to kind of go to them and say, hey, what do you need from us? Or hey, what issues are you trying to highlight? I know one of them was IRP, another is Matthew Russian, and I told Aubrey Jones this is something we have looked at. It's something that is on our agenda. But again, I just want to I guess it would be to clarify. Is what more can we do, or what else are you looking for? Or I mean, is there a role that we can play to assist you with this, to assist individuals in Virginia Beach in regards to police brutality, or in regards to aggressive police and extended police? I guess that makes more sense. That's one, and I guess that brings it there. And I'll also just make sure to let me know that again, we speak on behalf of individuals in Virginia Beach who feel that their human rights are being violated or human rights are not being looked at. So I guess that's one of the things to clarify with Aubrey Jones with BLM 757 at that time.
Thank you, Jamal. Any follow-up on that, Sylvia?
Yeah, the best I can hear, I think that Jamal was saying that, and maybe the police would agree to it. And welcome, Lois. I saw that you're late. You're already in trouble, and we've got you on the bad list. So.
Lois is having some audio issues,
No.
so I'm trying to see what if she can can speak.
Oh, okay.
Lieutenant Meister, did your group have anything to add?
So I guess it depends on what the ask is. I mean, we wouldn't certainly discourage the HRC from working with or speaking with any group. We've attempted to do the same, including with BLM 757 and other persons who voiced their concerns. So that would be something that obviously we will continue to do as we come across groups of people who identify issues. And it's something we're interested in doing as it's identifying ways to do better. So we certainly wouldn't discourage you from speaking with anybody about issues that concern citizens.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up on that, Sylvia?
Yes, so to make sure that I understand, and Jamal, you are speaking with others besides Black Lives Matter 757. So it's my understanding that we're not ignoring Black Lives Matter 757, but that they're really not endorsed by the movement Black Lives Matter across the country. But these other people that you may be reaching out to may be of help coming to the table and speaking with us and telling us what we can do, anything more that we can do. Is that right, Jamal?
Yeah.
Jamal, your mic is open.
Yeah. Sorry. If I may, that's why I was trying to clarify. There's a difference between BLM 757 and Black Lives Matter as a movement or issue in and of itself. There are forces in Virginia Beach that are working on systemic racism, the same problem that BLM 757 has highlighted. That said, Aubrey Jones is speaking for a lot of people in Virginia Beach. So it would be incumbent upon me to hear his voice or to hear what he's saying, to also hear those concerns of Virginia Beach. I mean, I'm trying to make it less about him or less about any other individual in Virginia Beach, or more about what they're saying. And if Aubrey Jones or any other group are contributing towards that discussion, or if they have something that they want to be highlighted in that discussion of what they're experiencing or what they're seeing in Virginia Beach, that's what I want to hear from. And that's what I want to bring to the table.
Okay. Thank you, Jamal.
Dominique, if I just may, I'm having a lot of feedback. I don't know. I know we're leaving some of the phones open, but I mean, I'm hearing 2 or 3 different conversations, and it's tough to distinguish. I don't know if, maybe we can close all the mics and then.
All mics are closed. Yeah, the only ones that are open right now are mine, yours, and Sylvia. And me and Francis were talking about it through the chat or the feedback. And it's the only mics that are open when I hear the feedback, at least, are 2 people talking. So I'm not sure where it's coming from or what it is. Like right now, it's just me and you. Are you hearing any feedback?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure. Oh, are you still unmuted, Aurelius?
Well, now I just muted myself, but when I was muted, I could still hear it. But, it's a challenge, and particularly Jamal had some good points, but I was hearing 2 or 3 different voices at the same time. So I apologize. Technology.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm not, I guess it's just something to figure out in the long run. Okay. Lois has joined. Can you hear us, Lois? Lois?
Looks like her mic is muted.
Oh, there she is. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Lois? Okay, you can't. Can you not speak? Okay. All right. Understand. Okay. All right. So now, Aurelius, I'll give the mic back to you.
Thank you. So a lot of good discussion that the commission has had this afternoon on, and we were focusing on how will you accomplish your intentions. And it sounds like dialogue. I've heard a lot about building on the partnerships that you already have. And then continuing, if there are new individuals that would like to get assistance, different organizations, that's something that they would put in writing, bring that to the commission, and then the full commission would vote on if you will then go about, you will then go to assist in that particular organization. So that's, that's I think identified pretty well. You've touched on that. Any other thoughts on how the commission can engage other organizations or individuals outside of what you already have in place? Any new thoughts, ideas?
Sylvia, did you have your hand up?
I was actually going to move on because I can't think of anything right now, and I think we'll be thinking about that. But going back to the protests at the oceanfront when we meet, which is August 5th, I believe, with the joint. I'm sorry, it's August 4th at 2 p.m. Via WebEx, and they're going to go back to the oceanfront and the protests. And it's not just the protests, but some of the actions of some people who are. It's difficult to figure out if they're protesters, if they're tag-alongs. I saw one video that had an Asian person, a white person with red hair, who were flipping off the police, who were saying "F you" and right close. They were very close, and I know this is difficult for us to talk about because where we want to support the, what did we say? We said the issues of the movement. We need to talk about that before we get to that meeting, because they're looking to us for some, I guess, solutions or ideas that make it less painful, I suppose. And I see Frances shaking her head, so I want to. I want to hear what Frances has to say. She's been real quiet since she got on camera.
Okay, Frances, your mic is now open.
All right, thank you. I apologize. I was just listening and thinking, we all want the protests to go away, Sylvia. Everybody does. Everybody is tired of it. It's controversial. It's difficult. It's aggravating. It's damaging. There's shooting and there's looting and there's all this stuff is going on. I just don't know where the Human Rights Commission could make that go away or make it easier to go down. This is the period of time we're living in. I think if we are there when people are feeling like, we're not being heard, nobody's doing anything, we're marching and nobody's listening. I mean, for us to be there, but as far as having solutions to those social issues right now, I mean, I've lived through this. The only solution is for the parties involved to come together, the city, the police, the community, to come together and work toward resolution. Now, if we can facilitate that, perhaps that would go a long way. But as far as the attitude of the community and the intention to create the disturbance, there's not going to be change unless everybody's uncomfortable. It's got to happen. And then, we have to move from there to try to resolve issues. And these are important issues. These are issues that have been before us since 1960. And so they're not going away. They have just boiled over here in our city. So I'm saying to you and to the commission, I feel like our role is to not stand by and watch, the city burn down. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I don't know that we have the power or the wherewithal to bring an end to the situation that we're looking at. Like I said, the community, the police, the city council, at some point, somebody's going to have to facilitate a conversation. And some stories are going to have to be told so that everybody's story gets listened to. Everybody's part gets, other than that, I don't know what else we could do other than what we are doing. And that is to have empathy for the business leaders down there, to have empathy for the protest because they have the right to do it, to have empathy for the law enforcement. They are working hard. I mean, they are putting their all into trying to keep peace with everyone. So at some point, somebody, I don't know if it's us, will have to facilitate a coming together and listening to the stories. Well, those issues they're not going to go away.
Thank you, Frances. Ginger, did you have something to say?
Yes, but Luis looks like.
Yes.
Okay.
Louise.
Hold- Okay. Luis, you had
I'm
something
sorry.
to add?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. My computer always gives me trouble, and I've tried to fix it, and I can't seem to get it together. But in any case, what I wanted to say was, all of the speakers today, Sylvia, Rabbi, Joe, Francis, all have been excellent in the points that they brought up. We need to follow process, like Joe said. Sylvia, we need to pick and choose who we associate or partner with or approach. Francis, you're absolutely right. Like a pressure cooker, you need some system to vent that growing steam when things get hot so that the pressure cooker doesn't blow up in your face. And dialogue is the only way to get that started. When I was in the riots as a kid, what we used to do was we would gather in each particular, it was the Black community, the Latino community. We were the ones that were doing, all of the activity. And we as a community came together and we dialogued with each other, the different groups in the Latino community. And we decided, what is it that we want? What is it that we are frustrated about? And let's put that on paper so that we can send a representative to the mayor, to the city, to whomever, to be able to dialogue with them, to represent us like an ambassador, if you will. Well, as it turned out, I was elected the ambassador. So what we did is we gathered together with the African American community, the Latino community, the white community, everybody, in the auspices of City Hall, with the mayor present, with the city manager present, etc. And we dialogued, and we specifically said, this is what we need. They in turn told us, let us go back, discuss this amongst ourselves, and get back to you. After that dialogue, we were able to see some activity, and that was one of the precursors. We wanted to make sure that the suggestions that we were going to provide, there would be some proactive activity that would come from that, not reactive. Okay. And so as it turned out, the mayor created a commission, and that commission was representatives from the community, and we were able to go back to the community, report to the community what had happened, what the results were, etc., what the promises were, if there were any given. And that's how we were able to diffuse the situation. But we have to understand that even though I represented my community, usually the instigators of the violence, the tearing down of the looting and so on and so forth, many weren't even from our own community. We had no control over these people. They would drive in, throw bricks from their cars, shoot people, do whatever, and we never even knew who they were. And also there was an added dimension to that. They were actual organized, and I hate to use this term because it sounds kind of radical, anarchists who came, were financed by who knows who, that came into our community and started educating our youth about Mao Zedong, Castro, you name it. And they were holding sessions, and those were the ones that usually were the ones that wanted to promote the violence. It wasn't our neighborhood. We have to live in our neighborhood. We didn't want our stores torn down and the windows busted, and then the poor businessmen had to move out afterwards because they couldn't afford to stay there. They couldn't afford to continue the businesses, and that hurt our community. So what I'm saying is, this is a multifaceted problem, and we have to attack it from that multifaceted approach. And the police are a very important component to this whole solution. And we know that we have a great police department in Virginia Beach, but there's a lot of people out there that are bad-mouthing the police department and are saying things that don't meet up with the facts. And we have to also be able to speak to that as well when we speak to those communities. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Luis. Ginger, you had a comment to make?
Yes, thank you. So we're really talking about what else can we do? And I think Francis has hit on it. Many of us have already hit on it. And that is to facilitate the conversation. But I just don't know if it's us taking the lead. I've been hoping that City Council would take the lead. Many of you may have seen the very emotional email that I sent to the Joint RAC group, where I basically was throwing my hands up because I believe it's our elected officials that should be leading in this. And I'm not seeing the action, whether there is action or not going on behind the scenes that I'm not privy to, that may be, but I'm not seeing that. And so who is it that is going to facilitate this? And who are the people that we're going to bring, that need to come to the table? It's like, I feel like I can't wait anymore. I can't sit back anymore. And yet I have to stay within our parameters also. I'm sorry. It's just frustrating and it's very emotional for me. And thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. Joe, you had a comment?
Yeah, and Ginger, I sure understand that. But I think that, honestly, I think we're the perfect group to facilitate that, because I think City Council, all of them, need to sit back and listen and hear. And they can't do that if they can't do it as well if they're the organizing party. I just think there needs to be somebody who's objective to run it and to get people to listen. Like Louis said, that's exactly what we need. We need that dialogue of people to come together, because there's a lot of talking, and it's a lot of loud talking, and it's a lot of, in many cases, it's screaming and yelling, and people don't hear anything other than noise when that happens. And so I think there needs to be that concerted organization and process developed by and maybe it's not us, but a group other than City Council, because they need to hear it, because they're the only ones who can facilitate the change. And there are things that I would say, like protests at the oceanfront don't make the impact that they do other places, because the only people who are seeing it are tourists, and it doesn't impact them. They go away and come back. The city's not seeing it. The citizens aren't, because most of us don't go to the oceanfront at night and hang out. So that's part of my frustration is the voices are being levied at the wrong place, probably at the wrong time. And when you hurt businesses that create revenue, you are taking away from the opportunity to provide the resources that are being asked for. So it's a double-edged sword. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation. But I really believe that, Ginger, my frustration is there too, but I really believe that it needs to be an objective group, and the City Council needs to be there as listeners and note takers, and then go back and be the developers of policy and change.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to see if any of our callers have a statement or a comment to make. Jamal? Jamal, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. Give me 1 quick second, please. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to hear everything Louis said, but there are a couple of points I do want to go back and address from actually what last three of you have said. Now, well, four really. Going back to Sylvia, she mentioned the joint meeting we had, and one of the things we were kind of wanting to bring to the table. One of the things that I've been interested in doing. I'm not exactly sure how expensive this would be, but I think it's important for the city leadership to hear directly from those who do have an issue or do have a group that they want to be aired. And as Francis said, they want to be heard and they want to be seen and be taken seriously. And that's really important. And to that end, we discussed perhaps like we did with the monument, where we had an open forum at the convention center. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, honestly, I think they're probably expecting a bigger turnout, but that's what we need for racial tension in the city and police reform, to have that sort of forum for people to attend. And honestly, I said this a couple of weeks ago. It should have been done at least a month ago, possibly before, where we get people who do have a grievance to be able to literally be able to look city council in the eye, and city council have the only thing on their agenda is to hear from us. And now, with that in mind, I mean, I just want to clarify this. While our police department is what we know it is, we do feel that they are a good police department. There are people in the city who do not have that experience. Like I've said this before, and I just want to reiterate. Francis, I'm sure your husband would say this as well. If Ron would be here, he would say it too. But the first Black man I meet in my life that hasn't had an unfortunate incident with the police that made him feel humiliated will be, the next one I meet will be the first, because we all have had those instances in our life where the police have made us feel extremely humiliated, extremely dejected, and less than human and less than respected, and not like a citizen that should be respected in the city of Virginia Beach. Not just in Virginia Beach, like I said, police brutality or aggressive policing doesn't just stop at Military Highway. It extends into Virginia Beach, and we all have had struggles with these issues. I mean, there has been at least 2 different occasions in my life with the Virginia Beach Police Department that have left me feeling that way. So, I mean, and there are some people, I mean, and now that's just me, and this was like within the last 15 years. So, I mean, I've had like positive, productive relationship with police in the city of Virginia Beach. So I'm not holding like 1 or 2 individuals and blanketing that across the entire police department, particularly when I know police who are very good individuals who I've worked with, who I do like Severa or John Bell or Zakro. These are people that I know who are in leadership, who I do have a good working relationship with, who I know are stand-up guys. At the same time, there are certain things that they may have done or may not, or little microaggressions that they may have done and may not realize that have rubbed people the wrong way. And there are also people who have those instances where they've had to encounter the police and have come away feeling less than what they should be or respected. But that's one other issue. But I do want to also go back and just also something that Ginger said and something Joe said as well. Just a side comment, Ginger. I notice her frustration and I get her frustration. And she really feels it's incumbent on city council to actually move the ball forward. And while I agree, I don't think she should feel like something is going on behind the curtain that she doesn't know about it, because quite frankly, I mean, maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but I think we should be the ones also behind that curtain. And we should be aware of what the city is doing. And if the city is not doing nothing, then, I mean, we have to know that what the city is not doing. And we, like I said earlier from the beginning, we have to be the ones that push the city if they're not doing enough. And this is one of the things I did want to convey to a couple of people who were with the movement, that the will of justice does not move that fast. I mean, it kind of moved fast with the Confederate monument. I mean, it took a couple of years and a couple of different meetings, but as soon as city council had a vote, the monument was gone almost immediately. That can happen like that. But as far as police reform, as far as systemic racism, as far as changing people's hearts and minds, that can't work as immediate as we want it to. there are some other issues that have to also work on a state level that, again, the city does not have the power to fix. I could be wrong, but I mean, I could be wrong with correct me with it. Like the IRP is something that the city themselves cannot directly fix the way certain people want, as far as having either or both, or subpoena and or investigative power. That's something I don't think the city has the power to do exactly. But lastly, I did also want to reflect on something Joe had said as far as the effectiveness of protests on the ocean front, and Frances also actually made a point, and she's right. I mean, although there are tourists at the ocean front who can just come and leave, I'm not sure how much is that going on now with COVID, but at the same time, that is where a lot of the attention of the city and city leadership is at the ocean front. That's where businesses are, that's where activity is, and that's where the city makes money. And that's why it's probably being targeted by people who are wanting to protest, because they want to disrupt life and they want to be heard. And that's where they are going to be heard. And the fact of the matter is, the fact that we're talking about it, they made their point. My further point beyond that, like, protests have to go forward. You have to transform protests into something else. But again, that's one of the things they want to do. They want to be seen, and trust me, they are being seen. I mean, from the commentary I heard and what I'm hearing from those who do conduct business or do work and live at the oceanfront, their lives and their businesses are being disrupted. And frankly, they don't like it. Like Francis highlighted, they're not comfortable with it. They're not happy with it. And that's kind of the goal of the protest, is to make you feel some sort of the same discomfort that we have to feel when we're humiliated by the police. It's not. I don't want to minimize anybody's experience. I know people are going through issues, but at the same time, that's the purpose of these protests, is to make people, to make it visible and to make it real, not just to us, but we have to live it, but to you, and make you see, hey, pay attention to what's going on in our community. I don't want to go on too much.
Yeah, and Jamal, all outstanding points. I feel it, and I'm sure everyone on the commission feels it. We've jotted a lot of the points down. Is there a summary that you wanted to make on that? It sounds like you were just about to wrap it up.
I kind of lost my train of thought. But just overall, now I do know that there are people on the Oversight who do know that there is a difference between protest and disruption versus violence and destruction. There is a difference between disruption and destruction, and I do feel some see that, but at the same time, there are some who don't see that, and that's one of the things that we did convey with the RAC as well, and they also should be heard. So again, that's one of the things that I think if we want to think about steps going forward, what we can do is putting together a forum where we can get city council not just listen to the people who have an actual beef or want to be heard as far as police reform, systemic racism is concerned, but also people who feel that their businesses and their lives are being disrupted by their process. Because again, we are the Human Rights Commission, and we don't just deal with racial problems. We deal with people who feel their human rights are being violated, and that could be the people at the social front as well.
All right, thank you. Very nice. So now, just a process check here. We're coming down to the last 10 minutes that we had scheduled. Sylvia, I see a couple of hands up that would like to comment. Let's go ahead and take those, and then we'll see how you would like to summarize. Teresa, I see your hand up, virtual hand.
Teresa, your mic is now open.
Thank you. First of all, Jamel, thank you so much for just really culminating, the fact that we're at a watershed moment. This is a really historical time on the issue of racial equity and justice. So I think the commission needs to be ready for, putting aside the regular work plan while we maybe suggest something. And I couldn't agree more that a conversation, a courageous conversation, either us to facilitate. I think we're a little bit at a deficit because, you know, we've got the interim chief, but, you know, and we're kind of in, you know, in transition there. But I think that if we could do that for the benefit of council, that might be how we put the priority of how do we proceed with this specific, you know, how do we support this specific watershed historical moment in the arena of COVID. But then I would suggest that all of these things are on, you know, like Jamal said, the human rights of all sides for everything needs to be our wheelhouse. And so we have a whole line of things that are ongoing that we just need to put on a work plan and then figure out who those partners are, if they need to make official, you know, ask of us, being clear about how that feeds into the arena of human rights. And then we just keep moving. To include our legislative advocacy agenda, because that is where policy and, you know, change can, you know, can occur to bring about justice and equity. Because what I don't want to do is have no path forward for furthering human rights, you know, based on our strategy.
Thank you, Teresa. Ginger, you had a comment or statement?
Yes, thank you. Briefly, yeah, Jamal, you said that the wheel of justice does move slowly. I'm pretty impatient. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but last week we did present our input on the IRP process, and then it was presented to City Council. And my question on that is, how are we going to know when, if they make these changes? It's a small piece and yet a big piece because it's something that the community has talked about. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa, you had more to add?
I do. And I got to add this, Ginger, because I think it's really important. A couple months ago, you know, we were told that all of this that is now being discussed was completely off limits based on, you know, where we thought we were then. So I did take issue with the fact that our input was given, but we weren't a collective body, you know, based on human rights. So I hope that if our input was given to City Council, it was given as individuals, because that was how I think the information, because there are human rights issues here that I think we need to make sure that we're shoring up before we move forward. For instance, I know that subpoena power and investigative powers, you know, were absolutely said no, where if we did have a courageous discussion in the community, you know, in partnership with police, we may go forward in a different direction. So I just want to make sure that we don't, in our impatience, and I say this on behalf of the community who, you know, underneath the leadership of the chief of police, has been meeting for long years, telling their stories, living their trauma and their vulnerability, coming up with, you know, some remedy that some of it we've implemented in our city, that the police have just been amazing in their ability to stay with the process and not be defensive and move it forward. But I do think that we have to be really careful, you know, when we go about speaking for people, and we need to make sure that it can stay on the issue and that it isn't trampling or jeopardizing human rights, you know, in the future, especially in the way of accountability. So I'm sorry that I just really needed to weigh in on that.
Thank you, Teresa. Ginger, did you have more to say? Your hand was still up. Ginger, your mic is open.
Yes, I put my hand back up because I just wanted to clarify, Teresa, I was speaking only of the IRP that the City Council member asked us to weigh in on. That's all I'm speaking of. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia, your mic is not on.
It's not.
There you go. Nope. Now it went off. It was on and then it's off again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. in answer to the IRP thing, that was asked of us on like a Friday. We worked all weekend and we went through that and we just did the best we could. But they were suggestions and they were forwarded to City Council, and I think I went through that in the beginning. But it went to basically to the the Mayor's African American Council, and those people on that committee they're working on their own. They took our input. Also, the IRP office staff, Regina Hilliard gave a presentation. They had their own input. So our input was to help them create their own input, which what I best can understand, and Francis is on that committee, the Mayor's Commission. So Ron and Francis will give us feedback as to what's going on there. I just wanted, if anybody didn't know where Louis was during the riots, he was in Bronx, right? New York. So, no, LA, give me a hint. It doesn't matter. He was in a big city. And I really want to thank everybody for the candid conversation. Without it, we couldn't do this. Francis and Jamal and everyone who has expressed this, and I think it's a good start. I think once we as human rights commissioners, we need to operate as Teresa said, as a group and speak as a group. And the one thing that I got from here so far was that we needed that conversation, and I'll address that in a minute. But this is, we are human rights commissioners in a historic time. And I know that I don't think that too much about that, but then I watch television and I go, we are human rights commissioners in a historic time, and what we say and do and how we act, it is important. And I know to the new commissioners, where I promised that 2020 would be better than 2019, I lied to you, but I didn't mean to. And the road's going to be bumpy, and we're going to have to make those decisions. We're not perfect, but I do believe that we're fulfilling our obligations even by just doing this. And as we go forward, I'm going to borrow what Teresa had said, because our former Mayor Ira Obendorf, she used to call us the pulse of the human rights of the pulse of the city. And we have to be that, listen to the citizens, but we also have to guide into Ginger's remarks. We have to be the North Star for our leaders, because I think if we are kind of fumbling around, in a sense, not fumbling, but trying hard not to, we have to help actually lead them. So I can't thank you enough for joining. I hope we can continue on the conversations. And I think our action item really much would be that we all agree that there needs to be a dialogue. And so we need to come up with ideas about how to do it. And I want to do it in a timely manner. It's, from one day to the next, things change. So let's put our heads together, meet real soon again, maybe. Or if you want to email some suggestions, I'm guessing it would be some sort of I think Jamal's had a hearing, and Councilman Guy Taylor said he's happy to sponsor that for us if we want to push in that direction. So up to us.
Any closing remarks from anyone? Anyone else? Let me check with our callers. Hold on one moment. Dr. Parrott, any closing remarks? Dr. Parrott, are you still with us?
At this time, however, I will send, I do, just a quick one. Tonight on bbschools.com, you can find more information. We will host a live forum for our staff, as our school board early this morning approved our fall 2020 school plan. And so we'll begin the school year on September 8th virtually. And so tonight we'll answer some questions that have been asked of the division from our school teachers and other staff. And so if you want to listen to that or check it out. I believe it's going to stream on you can find information on bbschools.com on how to access the Zoom virtual session. And I believe it'll be on our Facebook page as well. And for those of you who have not accessed our VB Schools, who've not visited bbschools.com, you'll also find our draft fall 2020 plan, but I'll send it to you, Dominique, so you can forward to the commissioners so you can review that. And perhaps if you have questions about what you see in the plan, feel free to reach out to me. We also have a call center that's available. That information is on bbschools.com, where we're answering phones today from 10 to 5, which is ending now, and tomorrow from 10 to 5 for questions that our community may have about our draft plan. Now it's no longer a draft, it's our plan now because our school board approved it last night. So I'll send you the draft, I'll send you the plan, excuse me, and if you have questions, you can call our call center and I'll put that information in the communication as well.
Okay, and what time is that that Zoom meeting tonight?
It's at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, okay, thank you, Dr. Perry.
Yes. You're welcome, thank you.
Okay, and Rabbi Zilberman, did you have any?
Maybe we ought to be in touch with Michael Bellucci. He's our liaison to the city council. And I think that it behooves us to be in touch with Michael because we have had a good discussions, and the city council, as we know, is key to whatever we do. And we, in a sense, are sponsored by them, and Michael is a liaison. Let's get together with Michael and share with him our concerns and how to bring us and the city council and others into a greater dialogue.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi Zilberman. And Jamal, did you have any closing statements? Jamal?
No, so I have nothing else further to add.
Okay, thank you.
My name is.
Hello.
Okay, and lastly, looks like we have another caller, and I think this might be Carla.
Yes, it is. Hi,
okay,
Carla.
Hi. Did you have any closing statements?
No, I think this has really been helpful, and just thank everybody for the time and look forward to the continuing dialogue.
Okay, thank you, Carla. Okay, and Sylvia? Yes, you
just have one quick thing, and that was in answer to Michael Bellucci. Apologized for not being here today. He was tied up, but he's interested and wants to join in the dialogue. And before we set up another meeting of our dialogues, can we do it after August 4th when we have the joint meeting? Because I think that will be helpful too for all of us to be joining into that and understand the oceanfront perspective from the business leaders. So that's August 4th at 2 p.m. And as soon as I get a link, I'll send it to you.
And I can send out a doodle poll for a follow-up for this meeting after that meeting. So I'll do a poll for 5th through the 7th, and maybe even Monday, depending on what the availability looks like.
Right. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I think it was a good dialogue. Everybody feels good about it.
Yeah. Thumbs up.
All right. Thank you. I think we're Mr. Facilitator, thank you so much for rearranging.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Aurelius.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
All right. Be careful, be safe. We'll be in contact.
Okay. Bye.
Everyone have a good evening.
You too.
Right. Thank you, Dominique, for
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.